This is 49ers State of the Franchise with Brad and Jason in the building. And the state of the franchise has been a hot topic for not only the early portion of this season, but throughout the offseason. And now that we've gotten through the first 4 weeks of the year, the new preseason, Jason, now I think we can really set the tone for the current state of the San Francisco 49ers and what we can start to look out towards as they start the year 2-2. But before we get into all that, drop your spicy sourdoughs in the chat. Smash that like button on both channels. Let's get into it right now. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. Mr. Aponte, what are the vibes like over there on the East Coast?
Great, immaculate. The New York Yankees don't have to play in any of these playoff games. I'm watching and waiting to see who they're going to play on Saturday. And, just praying on the Houston Astros downfall. I'm literally doing a hate watch right now. It's a good time to hate. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Well, I know we're here to talk 49ers ball, but a lot of news in the baseball world. Like, I'm not even like an avid baseball follower, but I thought it was pretty cool to see the Giants get Buster Posey in there. I know Farhan has been a disaster with them over the last 6 years. It was cool to see them go to. Would you say it was almost like? I know it's different, but kind of like John Lynch, in that GM spot. Is it kind of similar?
Yeah, very similar. I asked Andrew Pasquini to explain to me in football terms, and he essentially said it's right after like the Tom Sula, Chip Kelly years, and the 49ers bring in Steve Young to fix everything. Like that sort of goodwill move. And I liked it because it did correlate. By the way, the hate watching is going great. The Detroit Tigers have just cleared the bases and need 6 more outs to eliminate the Houston Astros. America is going to win when the Detroit Tigers do.
Everyone hates the Astros, right? Because of the sign stealing stuff. Again, I'm not a baseball.
No, the cheating and the arrogance around the cheating. But whatever, man. Baseball, not a real sport. It doesn't become a real sport until Saturday when the Yankees play. Not a real sport.
Yeah. So, when talking about a real sport, it feels like the San Francisco 49ers are starting to play their real brand of ball. Now, there's a lot of things to correct, right? I think that's very important to discern because it feels like we live in this echo chamber of you either have to be elite or they're not playing elite. They're not playing like Hall of Famers, all of this stuff. And it's like, all right, let's take a step back. We can't sit here and talk about, and I know both of you and I have mentioned this multiple times, not only on this channel this year, but throughout the years, that the first 4 weeks of the season is the new preseason for the starters. So understanding that context and then kind of seeing how the 49ers came out against, admittedly, Jason, a bad team in the Patriots. What was your overall takeaway from that particular performance?
I feel like I didn't learn too much that I didn't know about the 49ers. They're clearly better than the New England Patriots. They took care of business. I think when we talk about this game and the way we previewed it was, this is a time and this is exactly the opponent that you try to figure things out against, whether that's defensively. And then you see Nick Sorensen throwing more blitzes out there. It's been week after week going after it. The defensive line showed up. I thought Malik Collins had an incredible game. You see Nick Bosa kind of like, remember we talked about it, right? The shooter who's missing from 3-point range, but he gets a layup and he gets a free throw. The ball goes through the hoop. You start to remember who you are. This is more of a correcting things type of game to set you up for your next 2 divisional games, which you have 2 games in 7 days now. You had to have this one. And the vibes are good. Obviously we're going to talk about injuries and all that stuff, but for me, it was the 49ers doing exactly what they were supposed to do, which is take care of business. I don't walk away from this any more confident or any less confident because, it is the Patriots or anything like that. But if this team is who we think they are, then they had to handle business in that fashion, in that way against the Patriots. And I think it's a good first step into figuring it all out. And it had to start against the Patriots.
It did, and I think we talked a lot about that defensive line. We talked a lot about kind of what we would like to see better on the defensive side of the football. And again, granted, you're going against the Patriots. They have a porous offensive line. They have some good pieces, but they also, they I think they lost Andrews in that particular game, who's a really good center, but they have holes in other spots. And the defense feasted. You mentioned Malik Collins, Kevin Givens had himself
Kevin
a
Givens,
day.
hello. Mm-hmm.
Evan Anderson, welcome to the party.
Sammy.
He added a
Oh,
sack. Sam Okwuonu, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, probably not, but he has really come on as of late, and I love his story specifically about what he was talking about after the game of being late into football, not starting until his senior year in high school, kind of being slept on, having to wait at his time in Maryland, getting shuffled around. He's one of those guys. Like I wasn't familiar with this story even. He's one of those guys when I look at player development, those are the guys you don't want to sleep on. The guys that are kind of late bloomers that there might be something there that maybe we haven't even fully realized. Like we saw him make that forced fumble there, and he was getting pressures and all those different types of things. The arrow is pointing up for him. He can still improve as a player, and boy, oh boy, do the 49ers need someone on that defensive line from a depth perspective to do that. And so I was really happy with the performance from the defensive line after kind of being not so high on them through the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, and this game was again about figuring things out. In Sorensen's, rotation, the way he's throwing his blitzes, I thought it was really cool that this was a game that's perfect for you to try to get Malik Mustafa started and seeing reps. It's a game plan that you can throw at the Patriots based on personnel, and I don't think it can carry against different personnel. Like, let me explain. Like, if there's another quarterback aside from Jacoby Brissett that can hit you over the top, or they have weapons that can do, I don't know if you can like all out blitz and do things like that. But it's good to see Sorensen understanding the matchup, understanding what he can do, and understanding that every game plan is going to be specific to personnel and it's going to dictate how you play call. And I think if you're going to take anything away from that from Sorensen, that's a little bit of awareness, right? And I think that's the part that you want to start to look at and say, okay, now he's starting to build. Again, this had to be a game the 49ers had to have. But if you were going to try things out and figure things out, this is the perfect opponent. Not that, again, every NFL opponent is worthy. Obviously, any given Sunday is a real thing. Obviously, we know that from the last 2 weeks. But this was the exact get right kind of bounce back, figure things out. Let's see who's going to get some more rotation. Let's see who's going to get some more run. Let's figure out this defensive line without Javon Hargrave. Now, Hufanga doesn't play. Let's get Mustafa in there. Let's see. Ronaldo Green passes Isaac Yiadom in snaps. Let's get these guys rolling. This is the perfect time to do all of those things. And I think that is the part that I think I'm most excited about with Sorensen is understanding that week to week, you're not just going to be able to blitz everybody because quarterbacks and personnel is going to dictate how that works. But you recognize what you could do this week, and you went and you looked at everything, and for all intents and purposes, the defense responded.
The defense definitely felt like they responded. Again, not the best Patriots team that they're facing, but you got to start somewhere, Jason. You can only play against the team that is in front of you. And let's face it, on the other side of that, if the 49ers lost that game,
right, then we've got a bigger conversation to have.
Oh, gosh. So I'm super happy. Go ahead.
That's kind of what I was saying is about, like, I don't think I learned anything about the 49ers other than, like, what Sorensen was doing. Like, I know that the 49ers – I knew before the game kicked off that the 49ers were better than the Patriots. Yeah. I further knew that afterwards. Right. But I didn't learn anything about them. I think with the tougher opponents and maybe a little bit more adversity thrown their way during a game, then we'll really figure out what this team is. But 4 weeks is a pretty good sample size. In 4 weeks is going to be the like kind of crux of this show today too.
Right, and I do believe that what you're looking for at this point is you're looking at more fundamental cleanups. You're looking at trying to execute at a higher level. You're trying to minimize mistakes. You're trying to gel. You're trying to get into rhythm. Now, again, I think 49er fans are a little bit jaded to what's been happening these first 4 weeks based on the offseason, based on how the last year ended and how last year started, right? We've also talked about that at length. So it is important to remember that there's still a lot of work to be done. And a lot of it is just finding your rhythm, finding your groove. And it's been a disjointed offseason. So
Mm-hmm.
the start of the year being disjointed isn't that much of a surprise, but you're seeing them take the requisite steps into correcting those things, not all the way there. You mentioned they're playing with rotation, trying to get personnel right. We mentioned that with the defensive line. I didn't know that about Renardo. So Renardo did take more reps than Isaac Yadam.
He sure did. And again, if there was ever a game to do it, was against Jalen Polk and Tyquan Thornton. And you just want to, again, you want to get him acclimated. You want to get him going. But he did outsnap Isaac Yadam, which meant one of two things, or maybe both, that Sorensen knew that, hey, if we have a rookie and he goes out there and maybe he has some bumps and bruises, there's not a personnel issue in front of you that's going to cause a lack of confidence. Or two, we're really trying to get him in on the field and we want him to build confidence. And I think it was a little bit of both.
What did you see from the way he was implemented into the defense? Was it Mooney and Lenore on the outside when they went into nickel package, kick Lenore inside, or was Green playing the nickel?
Green was primarily a little bit more outside, but they were moving all three of them around. And that's kind of how they were implementing him during the training camp, during training camp as well, too.
Mhm.
We want him to do both. They really seem to be high on him and Malik Mustafa. Now, obviously, with Mustafa, you could point to the fact that Hufanga wasn't playing. A little bit shocking that they don't go right back to George Odom, who's the guy who actually started earlier. So they
Right.
do want to get him on the field. There is a plan for these rookies. And I think we're already seeing returns on these rookies just on the fact that they're taking snaps early on, right? Obviously, Pooney's starting, but you're talking about two defensive guys in the secondary. I think they want to use him all around. And I think specifically to each team that they're going to face, depending, I don't know if you want Renardo Green out there, on Marvin Harrison, since Ward doesn't always follow. Maybe he kicks inside a little bit. Maybe you see Lenore out there, but you have the flexibility now to move those guys in and out. And that's what Nick Sorensen and the defensive plan was for Green during training camp.
Yeah, so it really does feel like a big portion of this early chunk of the season is really trying to determine personnel. Like really, right? You mentioned the injuries, you now have rookies. The 49ers haven't been great at linebacker. Obviously, I'm not talking about Fred Warner who's playing like the defensive player of the year. I'm talking about everyone else. So and now you see the 49ers, they go out, they poach Jalen Graham back onto the roster, which is a guy that I never should have, I don't think ever should have been cut in the first place. But they're lucky enough that Washington put him on their practice squad and that they could sign him. And so they needed linebacker depth. They got it. And now you get Jalen Graham back. And what is your take on Devondre Campbell? Obviously, unfortunately, Curtis Robinson is out for the year due to that injury in practice. He was probably angling towards a couple more snaps as well. What do you think the 49ers are going to do at linebacker? And do you see a world that maybe exists? And again, this is just me spitballing, where maybe Malik plays a little, maybe a little outside linebacker in certain sets. And, he lines up in that position in a 3 safety set. Do you think you could see that when you have Jair, a healthy Talanoa, and they want to get Malik on the field more?
I think all options are on the table right now. With Devondre Campbell, when he was brought in, it was an obvious veteran move because of what's going on with Drake Greenlaw. We got some good news that said, mid-season. Well, we're getting there. It's already week 5 now. But the problem is that in his all-pro season in 2021, he was a coverage linebacker, someone who was covering tight ends, even at times slot guys. He had an out-of-this-world year, one all-pro when he was a Green Bay Packer. Now, that is such a weakness of his game that Nick Sorensen, again, good credit, again, could this be a little bit of who your opponent is? Fine, but you blitz Campbell more. you don't put him in positions where he's got to be one-on-one. You make sure that you put him in a spot where he can contribute. And that was what I saw. You just when a guy's out there and he has to play in this essentially out of necessity because D Winters is dealing with injury after injury. It seems like every time he tries to come back, he's dealing with another injury. DFF is on there in nickel in different situations as well too. I know we love him as a special teamer, but he's kind of lacking when it comes to playing the position. The 49ers are absolutely thin at linebacker, so Devondre Campbell has to stay on the field. Now the question becomes, Nick Sorensen, do you allow him to just be picked on? Do you allow them to have an advantageous matchup against them, or do you find ways to get him to contribute? And I thought that's what he did, blitzing him a lot more in this game and getting him involved and trying to get him to be a contributor as opposed to someone that kind of has a target on his back. So I think that's kind of what this game said, but I don't know, again, if you can do that again against, this week, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, they've got guys, man. They've got guys on that offense. And the Cardinals, no matter how bad they got beat this week, they always play the 49ers tough, and I'm not expecting anything other than that. So I don't know if you can do that with Campbell, but it's got to be about putting guys in position to win. And I thought that was at least the best part about what they did with Campbell.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what this defense continues to round out into, because I don't think it's done right. They're still messing around, pulling on these individual levers, seeing which groupings and pairings they like the best. You got a new defensive coordinator. And so based on what I'm hearing from you, sounds like you are pleased with the adjustments that Nick Sorensen has made starting week 1 now to week 4.
Yeah. Everything can't just be rush forward, whatever. Like, that's not going to work when you have an obvious advantage with the way that the Patriots offensive line has been banged up. They even lost guys during this game. You had to kind of get it going and find a way to, and it's been happening week after week. It's gone up. KP put out a really good tweet about blitz rates. It was 33.7. If that's how you're able to get your defensive linemen one-on-one situations because of oncoming blitzers, you have to get home, obviously, because then you're on the back end losing numbers. But if that's the way that you feel that you're going to be able to get Nick Bosa, Leonard Floyd popped out in this game as well, too, 6 pressures. If they're going to get those one-on-one matchups because of you putting on a little bit more pressure, then I think you've got to take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, put it all together against different personnel, and then you'll find the right mix. Still finding his way 4 weeks, still testing, still looking at the rotation, but that had to be encouraging for anybody who was worried about Nick Sorensen, regardless of the opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of fans were. You Jason, you and I were there. We are actually in the stadium. Week 3, I believe it was. Was it 2021 versus the Green Bay Packers? When
that memory came up. That memory came up on my IG. I don't know if you saw it, man. What a beautiful time!
I didn't.
It came up. And
wait.
Yeah, you did.
No, I think I did. I did.
Wait, when you turned me into a meme, yeah. Where I was just
yeah. And you turned to me, and I'm just like, man, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
It was a game. Remember I think it was like Joe Staley did like the foghorn thing. Like the vibes.
Trey Lance scores the first touchdown. The first touchdown at half there on the running play. My God, what a time, man. The backwards Jimmy Garoppolo pass. My God, man.
I think Diamador Lenore was in coverage in that whatever like last play where Devontae Adams.
He threw it right over Fred. Like Fred was there, and this is his fingertips. Yeah, this is his finger. I mean, Demo didn't cut it close enough to force him
to the route.
Yeah, he didn't drive him, and he didn't drive him down and flatten him. He stayed out, but Fred is sinking, and that ball just went right over. And that's just one of those Aaron Rodgers throws. It's just, look, man, good position, better thrower, and then they hit that field goal at the end of the game. Yeah,
I always love reminiscing about those moments because it was cut Diamador Lenore, fired D'Amico Ryan,
fired D'Amico,
get him out of here.
Where's Ambry Thomas?
So that's why I always like to reference those moments, because now Diamador Lenore is damn near a fan favorite on the defensive side of the football, arguably the entire team. D'Amico Ryans is, man, 49er fans would probably give their left leg to get D'Amico back in here. So it's just,
the Jets keep losing to the Broncos, and Robert Saleh's coming home.
Mike McDaniels too. Is he coming through?
Mike McDaniel. We're getting the
Felix?
band back together.
Dude, I feel for McDaniel, man.
McDaniel looks stressed.
Like, oh man, he's
Man,
gone
like,
through it. He looks
He's
completely
gone
different
through 2
than he did
seasons
when
these
they
last
first-
3 seasons. But you know what? You know what, though, Brett? When Kyle Shanahan lost all his quarterbacks, the 49ers still found a way to win games.
Yeah.
That Miami Dolphins offense cannot do a thing. Nothing. And I understand the 49ers had a player that they took number 3 that year in Trey Lance who got injured. They had a backup who won tons of games with the 49ers and was as reliable as it gets. Probably the best backup quarterback in football that season. And then you didn't even know what you had behind him. But Mike McDaniel in that offense, it is abhorrent and it's horrible to watch. It's horrible product. And they just don't know. They have no semblance of anything. Tyreek Hill's useless. And we'll get into fantasy. I don't even know if you can play this guy anymore. Tyreek Hill's useless. Jalen Waddle can't do anything.
We talked about that last week too.
Yeah. Devon Achane can't do anything. This offense looks so bad. And Mike McDaniel looks like he has no answers. He's going through it, man.
No, I feel for him. The stress of, because obviously the Tua stuff has taken on a life of its own. People have really come at him for, the perception of how that's been handled. And it's one of those things that's out of your control. If a guy's going out getting concussions, that's a part of the game, but it's unfortunate that it keeps happening to the same guy and you get dragged into that, right? Like, well, how are you going to handle this? Or what did he say? What did he not say? It's a tough spot for McDaniel, who I do think is a great coach, but
he's a great coach.
He looks like the weight of the world is on his shoulders for sure.
I know Miami's not winning games, but the real winner is Tua Tagovailoa. Because I thought it was all just Mike McDaniel's offense. I thought that, whatever, like oh yeah? All right. Well, it ain't Skyler and it ain't Snoop Huntley. You can't put anybody back there. So put at least a little bit of respect on Tua's name, just a little.
Wasn't Skyler also drafted ahead of Brock Purdy as well, like in the 6th round? Yeah. He's 6th or 7th round, but he was taken ahead of Brock Purdy. We'll get to Brock here in a minute. But yeah, so really happy to see with, again, the team continuing to take steps forward. That's what it is. It's important to remember football it's a body of work. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I know it can get hyperbolic with each individual performance and each individual game, and you're trying to crown or, take out the legs of one player or a coach or a team based on one individual performance. And I know it's really easy to do that, but it is important to remember that it's about the body of work, evaluating multiple games, multiple plays, multiple drives, multiple sequences. Every player can have a bad game. Every team can have a bad game. Every coach can have a bad game. You got to see what it is from a consistent standpoint. So that takes me over to the offensive side of the football. Now, I know you had wrote a lengthy piece on Niners Nation about Brock Purdy and everything that he's doing. So you're going to be a phenomenal wealth of information to support what we're seeing on tape as well. So with Brock and how he is playing through the first 4 weeks of the season, how do you feel? And what's your take on Brock and what he's doing right now?
So Brock Purdy last year was fourth in MVP voting behind Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott, and Lamar Jackson, right?
Yep.
He had a magical season. He played all 16 games. Through 4 games, the 49ers are 4-0. And Brock Purdy hasn't thrown an interception. He's 5 touchdowns, 0 picks, right? 115.1 quarterback rating. The 4 teams, the Steelers in week 1, who ended up 6th in total points allowed for a defense. The Rams, 19th. The Giants, 26th. And the Cardinals, 31st. Just want to add that part of the conversation because I am going to reference it back with these 4 teams that the 49ers have just faced. So, again, 81 for 112. 72.3% completion percentage. In week 4, I don't think we remember against the Arizona Cardinals, Brock Purdy went 20 for 21 in that game. Coming off a week where we saw 18 for 18 from Jared Goff, Brock Purdy was one throw away from setting a record that even Jared Goff couldn't get on Monday night with that poor Seattle defense. We'll talk about them in a little bit too because they're coming up next. 1,019 yards, 9.1 yards per attempt, 42 yards was his longest pass, 12 rushes, 24 yards, and a rushing touchdown, 115.1 quarterback rating. But the advanced stats will tell you a little bit more. 121 dropbacks, 4.5 touchdown percentage, 0 interception percentage because he hasn't thrown one. 79 on-target throws, 94 catchable balls. That's a 75.2% on-target percentage, 89.5% catchable ball rate. 552 completed air yards out of 750 intended air yards. That's a good one. Remember to listen to that one. This is last year. That's a 54.1% average of how many? All right, so 54.1% of his total passing yards through 4 were air yards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 7.1 average throw depth. We all good here? I didn't like lose everybody throwing a bunch of, all right, cool. Because I know, Brad, that it's just sometimes I could ramble on, like, just, be like, hey, like, look, I see Matthew Vega. Is anyone writing this down? If you guys want to read it, it's on Niners Nation, but I'm going to go through it. And I if you need me to slow down, I will. All right. Brock Purdy through 4 games. The 49ers are obviously 2-2. The Jets have the fifth best total points defense. The Minnesota Vikings have the 4th best total points defense. The Rams have the 31st total defense. The Patriots have the 17th. Where's my spreadsheets? You guys are hilarious. All right. Through 4 games, and I'll keep it brief. No, you guys are good. Please tell me, because don't let me ramble on. The Houston Astros are eliminated. Oh, my God, I'm so happy. Get out of my TV. All right. 84 out of 122. 68.9% completion percentage, 1,136 yards, which is an increase, right? And obviously, they're throwing the football more because they were trailing in the Minnesota game. That was part of their game plan with the Rams, okay? 9.3 yards per attempt, 53-yard long pass, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles also. So he's got 4 turnovers through 4 games. So we can't leave that part out of it.
Right.
18 rushes for 75 yards. That's important. 105.1 quarterback rating. This is where the numbers are going to knock your socks off, and it's going to literally let you know that regardless of the numbers, regardless of how many games the 49ers have won, Brock Purdy's playing the best football of his life. And here it is. 146 dropbacks, 92 on-target throws, 100 catchable balls, 801 completed air yards, first in the NFL, out of 1,253 intended air yards, first in the NFL. 70.5% air yards are his total passing yards, first in the NFL. 335 yards after catch, second to last in the NFL. Average throw depth, 10.3 yards, second only behind Anthony Richardson. Brock Purdy is playing the best football of his career, and he still hasn't played his best game yet. When everyone comes to you with a narrative about, oh, everything is check down, obviously we've debunked that. That's a 5.7 check down rate last season for Brock Purdy, one of the lowest in the league. And I think the idea between check down, what's a check down and what's a design throw is just whipping people's ass when they talk about like Brock Purdy's analysis. Like they just don't understand the difference, right? They just don't get it. A throw to the flat isn't a check down. It could be a design throw because Christian McCaffrey's up against a linebacker. A check down is 1, 2, 3. Now that means you went through 3 progressions and you win. That's whipping people's ass. But now people are going to look you right in the face and say, Brock Purdy doesn't throw the football down the field when there's no one even close right now to completed air yards, intended air yards percentage, and he's only got Anthony Richardson in front of him, and he's second to last in yards after catch. Brock Purdy is playing the best football of his life, and right now is dead smack in the middle of MVP talks through 4 weeks. I know it's an early sample size, but if he continues this way, I don't see how you can keep him out of the MVP talks, man. Brock Purdy is doing everything in the face of Brandon Ayuk running, finally rounding out, missing Kittle, missing Debo in a game, missing McCaffrey. At times the line This is all what you're seeing. And we talked all offseason about the growth that you'd see from Brock Purdy may not be statistical, because it's not, right? You see the turnovers, but the growth is everywhere else, and you see him throwing the football down the field, man. Yeah.
Dude, well said. Now, Jason just absolutely eviscerated any arguments against Brock Purdy, not only with quality takes, but phenomenal statistical research. This is what I'm going to add to it. Brock Purdy is him. That's it. He's really a freaking good quarterback. Like, obviously we do the tape film breakdowns, and I already did mine earlier this week, and he's not perfect. That's my favorite thing about this. I even love the mic'd up that he just had. The deep throw to Brock Purdy, or the deep throw from Brock Purdy
He's
to
throwing it to
Deebo
himself.
Samuel.
I didn't see that one on film.
Hey, that's what's next. That's what the
haters need to see next. Is he going to throw it to himself?
Can he throw it to himself? Can he have the Lamar Jackson play where bounce backs and he catches it and then runs for yards?
Jared Goff caught a touchdown on Monday night. They're going to start saying, can he catch touchdown passes now?
Your turn, Kyle. Your move. But honestly, when you look at his play, there's plenty of room for him to improve. I would say there's a couple throws from an ball placement standpoint he can work on. Okay, whatever. He had the interception. You see the way the interception plays out. He's going to see if the safety is going to bite on Kittle. He does, and he comes off that to identify Brandon Ayuk coming over the middle of the field. As soon as Brock comes off of Jabril Peppers, Peppers immediately just vacates into the spot. So Brock throws that ball, not even seeing the safety drop. So those are things that I think he can continue to work on, is continuing to manipulate defenders and with his eyes and things like that, because I think they're starting to get a read on him. But I think, you can explain that interception. It was a better play by Jabril Peppers than anything else.
And Kyle explained it. He said he didn't hate the decision. He said the ball was a little bit late, and Peppers peeled off of his coverage to make a
great play by him.
That's it.
It wasn't his responsibility. He wasn't supposed to be there.
That's why there's structure and there's context to it.
Within the structure of what is designed and what it's supposed to look like, that was the right read, right? It was the right decision. And he actually put the ball in a pretty solid spot if Jabril Peppers wasn't there. And again, so you can look at even the turnovers and you can understand, okay, you get why they're happening. Like, those are things that not every safety is going to do. Those are things that you can continue to work on. And it's things like, okay, he can clue on keeping that safety hooked on that particular route. Maybe they run a more angled out towards the sideline to pull that safety even further away from that route. So there's plenty of things that Brock can still work on. But my favorite thing that Brock is continuing to show is the will, is the intangible. There is something that clicked in Brock against the Rams, and he's carried it over against the Patriots. And it was something that I wanted to see from him. You saw a little bit of that at the end of the Minnesota Vikings game, a little bit too late, unfortunately. And I wanted to see him do it for 60 minutes. Well, he's now done it for 120 minutes. And if he can continue this level of play, and when I'm talking about the intangibles, I was talking about it earlier. It's like it's a confidence factor, and not to be mistaken with the fact that he doesn't have confidence. Brock doesn't have confidence. He's always had confidence. That's why he was able to step in versus Miami, thrown into the fire, and not lose a game until his elbow got ripped off. He has confidence. He's born with confidence. But there's this elite level, intangible confidence when it comes to evading pressure, being able to make adjustments on the fly, being able to create outside of structure, being able to identify when and when not to use your legs. All of those things are funneled through a perception of confidence that someone has within themselves to be able to execute when everything is breaking down. And we know Brock can escape. We know he can avoid. We know he can sense free rushers and get off them. I mean, that one play where you had Jabril Peppers. I mean, shout out to whoever Gerard Mayo. That blitz concept that they had designed to get Jabril Peppers off the edge around Colton McKivitz was beautiful. And Brock was dead to rights. And Brock just hit him with a little shoulder swipe. That's when he bailed out. He hit another like hezzy, dropped back, and he threw the ball up to make Debo or give Debo a shot. Should have been PI in my opinion, but he still gave him a shot. To me, that's like what we're seeing this for 60 minutes, not just in spots. Like in the playoffs, we got it in spots when they needed it the most, where he went from I'm just a cog in the wheel trying to keep the offense moving and efficient and effective to all right, I gotta create. I have to put the team on my back and I have to make plays. And I think you saw that when he had to score 3 touchdowns in one drive, only one of them counted. And you saw a bunch of those different plays. So my biggest takeaway of Brock is we know what he is from a physical tools perspective. We know what he is from a processing perspective. For me, it's that next tier of getting into the realm of being the offense. We know Kyle has his scheme and he has his designs and everything that he wants to execute. But as you know, Jason, being a great quarterback in this league, in this NFL, is being able to create and make magnificent plays outside of structure. And not that Brock couldn't do that before, but there's a different energy associated to. I feel like Brock has taken full ownership of this offense. It's yes, it's Kyle's offense. It's Kyle and Brock's offense. I feel like it's getting to that point where Brock has so much ownership in what is being executed that he can go off script. He can see something and go in a different direction. And that to me is huge because when you have Kyle Shanahan, who is a massive control freak, right, in regards to details, executing it his way, the fact that you can have someone blossom outside of that and take ownership of a very detailed, intricate scheme that has all these predetermined things built in, and he can expand upon that. That's where you start having that conversation about Brock Purdy being elite. That's where you start having the conversation of this guy really is arguably one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the league. Obviously, there's other guys in the league who have done and played at a high level for longer periods of time than him. And I need to see more before I can say that. But he's inching closer to that, Jason, and he is continuing to get better. And as a 24-year-old in his second season as a starter, first full offseason, to be able to operate as a starter, dude, he's only going to get better. That's the best part about where Brock Purdy is at right now.
Yeah, he still hasn't put together his best game, and that's kind of where I was going with that. And in terms of the things that they need to work on, it's obviously finishing, right? Like you can take field goals against the Patriots. You're not going to beat certain teams with that. But I think that they're having a hard time right now adjusting to the fact that there's no Christian McCaffrey. If you ask me what's the biggest thing that's going on with Christian McCaffrey is the red zone stuff. Because when you get down there, it's just get him, Christian, like go. Like there's a reason he got all the touchdowns last year. I think there's going to be a plan for that. You know, you have some of these weeks where it's a little disjointed, where there's no Debo, there's no Kittle. Maybe you go to them. Obviously, Jordan Mason has been great. But I think, again, this is where you're missing Christian McCaffrey the most right now is in the red zone. And Kyle Shanahan and them got to figure out how to get everybody else involved. Does it mean more George Kittle in the red zone, more touchdowns for him while Christian's working his way back? Does it mean that you see a little bit more Debo on these jet sweep pop passes? Does it mean that you have one-on-ones with Ayuk? I don't know what the answer is. And I think, again, similar to what we were saying on defense, it's going to be dictated by who's the defense in front of you. But that's the part that you're kind of missing right now with Christian McCaffrey the most. Obviously, his impact, his running ability, everything that is, you can't take anything away from him. But I think in the red zone, it's so easy to just call 22's number, give him the ball in one way or another, and let him finish. And that's literally all he did all of last season.
Well, not only that, all the different type of choice routes that he's running out of the backfield. Right. It was funny. I have the same exact opinion as you. Even watching George Kittle's press conference after they asked him directly, like, what do you like, associate your red zone struggles with? In my brain, I felt like in his head he said, "Chris, we don't have Christian McCaffrey," but I don't feel like he had to process his answer because he
Mhm.
couldn't say that. Like if you say, well, because we don't have Christian McCaffrey, well, we know that Christian McCaffrey is a hot button topic with all the injury stuff and all this and all that. And that was my read of his vibe. He's like, we don't have Christian McCaffrey. That's why our offense doesn't look the same right now because the reasons why we talk about Christian McCaffrey being so great is the gravity that he brings to the table, and defense is having to key on him and work off of him. And then when you have a gravity player like that, how you build schemes off of that and how you work players off of that. So I agree. Christian McCaffrey is probably the biggest reason why they are having struggles in the red zone. And obviously, you miss a block here or there and you don't, you know, do certain things that you're supposed to do. That's also going to contribute to that as well. So it's a combination, I would say. But yeah, I agree. I think missing CMC is definitely an adjustment for this
Mhm.
offense.
Yeah, and that's the part that Kyle will have to figure out, and they'll have to collaborate. This will be a joint effort when it comes to this, right? And I think a little bit to your point, um, that Kyle Shanahan's confidence in this offense is in the hands of Brock Purdy, and he feels good about it, right? We see a game plan where they come out and they throw the football a ton, and you're like, well, what is he doing? Run the football. It's because he has confidence in Brock. And there is a little bit of a glimpse of what this is going to look like down the line when Brock does get paid and who's going to be here. Can you lift, right? When quarterbacks get paid, essentially, you can't keep everybody. I don't know how that works. I'm not telling you that anybody's leaving because I'm completely out of that salary cap stuff. I just stay out the way and I just figure out who's going to be here. I don't make any
We can
predictions
worry
when it
about
comes to
that
that
in the offseason.
later, very later. But when a quarterback gets paid and there is either you lose defensive players and you have a drop off on defense, your offense has to lift you a little bit. That's what the quarterback has to do. So I think again, it's kind of a glimpse into the future of what you can expect when Brock is. I mean, they've already turned this thing over to him and given him the keys. I don't mean it in that way, but I mean if it has to be him, if it has to be him, let's say a player's down, you feel much better about it because of the way he's incrementally improving in all these facets in the game. Again, the improvements that we were going to see in this offseason were not going to be statistical. When you come off a year that you are so efficient that it's literally boggling people's mind how you're able to have that type of year with the way that offense works and whatever physical limitations you have, there's no way that you can really duplicate that. But what you can see as improvement is in those moments when you don't have those guys, can you lift a little? Can you do a little bit more? That's what you're seeing with the legs. I'd like to kind of maybe let him get down a little bit more, but when he's running, he's looking downfield. And let's not leave this part out of it. Brock Purdy's separation rate on his receivers, not very high when it comes down to everything. His tight window throw number is all the way up as well, too. So he's putting the ball in places where his guys can only get it. And in the
Yeah.
NFL, one step is open. And that's what
It's
it's not going to be six
it's
steps
not
away.
even a step, it's like a shade. As long as
Right.
you have a leverage position, you're
Mm-hmm.
open because you're
Yeah.
throwing to a spot, right?
Yeah. So right now you're kind of just getting a glimpse of what this will look like when, or if, I don't want to say when or if this thing
Right.
just fully turns into, well, it's Brock and unfortunately this player we had to make a tough decision on, or this and that, like that. I don't know who that is. Again, I'm not going to speculate on that, but you're getting a glimpse of what this looks like. And I think Kyle is starting to feel like I'm fine as long as Brock is under center, everything.
Feels good, man.
Yeah.
Feels
This is what it's like to
incredible.
have a franchise quarterback, Aaron. Like,
Who knew? I had no
oh my
idea.
God. Oh my
Oh
God.
oh my gosh, unbelievable. Daza says a lot of advanced stats support how good Brock Purdy is, and he's playing very well. But crunch time in the playoffs, how many quarterbacks are you taking BP over in the NFL? That's kind of what I was talking about with like the intangible, the unmeasurable, right? The thing that you can't associate stats with. Obviously, the intangible leads to bearing out of statistics. How well you play in those moments, you generate stats from that. But again, I remember talking to Aaron Banks at the Super Bowl, and I was talking to him about the playoffs and what it was like having Brock Purdy in the huddle in those moments. And he said that there was never a moment where they didn't believe because they had Brock, because he has a calming presence in the huddle. I've told this story many times. One of the first snaps that I ever took as a starter in college, my quarterback was shaking and he was so nervous. And, shout out to him. He went D1. He played some great ball. But in the first game, very nervous. It made me very nervous. It was instantly like, oh, we're cooked, man. We're screwed. So it matters. And with Brock and his presence in those moments when everything is on the line, yeah, dude, that's an intangible quality. That isn't, you can't measure that against, his 10-yard split being faster than Debo and Christian McCaffrey. It's inherently in him. It's in his soul. It's in his heart. It's inside of him, and it's his makeup as a person. And that you can't quantify. You can't. I think one of the first things that we talked about, Jason, when I met you at the Senior Bowl, is like one of the hardest things to scout is the person, right?
Yep.
And that is where Brock is elite. He's an elite person. He's elite at doing the things that go unnoticed, right?
Yep. You ready for this? No, put that back up because let's answer the question. Let's answer the question. Yeah, he wants his question answered. How many crunch time quarterbacks am I taking Brock Purdy over? Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Jordan Love. You want me to keep going? Lamar Jackson. You want me to keep going? Lamar Jackson. Do you want me to keep going?
I got one for you.
Just the one. CJ Stroud. Yes, the one that you can't ever say is Mahomes. But I just listed $60 million quarterback. $60 million quarterback. Goff, Prescott, Hurts, Geno, easy. Jordan Love, easy. Lamar Jackson, easy. Like that's easy. Justin Herbert, easy. Well, keep naming quarterbacks that are going to be in the playoffs. Go.
God,
say a quarterback's name.
I think you named most of them.
That's a lot.
Jaden Daniels. I don't know. Unconfirmed.
Jaden Daniels. Go. Yeah, go. I mean, look, he's playing great.
Aaron Rodgers, Jason. Aaron
Rodgers, go. Aaron Rodgers, go. Keep going. Give me more.
Baker Mayfield,
go. Give me more. Keep going. Yes, look at this list. No. Look at this list. It's a lot. It's the one guy that you feel like you don't have a shot at beating in crunch time.
The one guy he hasn't beaten.
That's it. Sam Darnold, yes. In crunch time, yes.
Hey, shout out to Sammy, man.
Burrow, yes.
Oh, good Burrow.
Yes.
Yeah. Burrow's not playing well this year.
They're all right. The Bengals are all right. Carr, yes. It's just like it's literally Mahomes and Josh Allen. The Bills don't lose because of Josh Allen. Stafford, that one's kind of tough, man. He's got the big one.
Kyler,
Kirk Cousins, yes. Kyler, yes. Okay. Yes. Look at how many I just named.
Justin Fields?
Yes. But it's not like there's a short list of guys that you would take with the game on the line. Right?
No, he's in the top category.
He's on the short list.
He's on the short list.
Yeah. Crazy. Lamar Jackson literally vomited on himself in the AFC Championship game. Josh Allen, when they lose, it's because his kicker misses a kick, or Stephon Diggs drops a pass, or his defense gives up a play with 23 seconds left against the Chiefs. Burrow just hasn't gotten it.
Josh Allen,
he's good.
Jalen
Hurts is in the running right now for probably playing the worst football of any quarterback besides Will Levis and someone else right now through 4 weeks.
I think you got to fire Sirianni. I think it's him.
Oh man, they should have fired him last year. Jimmy
G,
that's tough. Damn, now you really But
now they're
but you see how quickly that question, when you look at it, Geno hooped. You think Jared Goff, who had his chance to do it last year? Nope. Jordan Love had his chance? Nope. Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott? In crunch time? No. So, yeah,
Nope.
I take him over a lot of quarterbacks if I had to do it right there in one shot with one drive. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And again, the way he's playing, he's even furthering that conversation and making it and separating from those guys. Like Jalen Hurts looks like a shell of himself from what he was 2 years ago. Like Jordan Love, obviously dealing with injuries, still trying to get back into shape. And you know, Brock is just the model of consistency. And even when he's not being consistent, he's still consistent. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Pietro says over Joe Montana. Hey, Joe Montana was carried by Bill Walsh and Jerry Rice, pal. Get it right. It's a joke. It's a joke. If Twitter was alive, if Twitter was a thing, if social media was a thing, you know that there's going to be some bird brain who would say that.
Yeah, absolutely. They would say he's a game manager. All this, all the other things, he would have got destroyed.
Carried by Roger Craig and Jerry Rice and the scheme.
Social media is a funny place when it comes to discussing football.
I think really fun. What the gift and the curse about social media is that we can fire off our thoughts in real time, right? And it leads to good conversation. But in that same time that you have that moment to fire off a thought, stop, think about it.
Think about it.
Then say it. Like, say it out loud. Maybe say it out loud to somebody in a room. Like another person.
There is an art to live tweeting games. There's
100%. I don't make predictions while I live tweet. I just tweet the facts. Tweet the facts.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because if you're sitting there and you're saying, oh, this game's out of hand, I'm not worried, and then 21 points go over your head, everybody's going to be like, this you? I mean, the best thing that's ever happened to me was being on Freezing Cold Takes after I said that the 49ers were going to beat Minnesota. Like, literally, that was one of the best moments of my life, man. Because it's so cool. But predicting things while the games are going on without understanding that things can change quickly, obviously. You know how many Detroit Lions fans were probably tweeting like, we're going to the bowl. I'll see you in Vegas. Narrator, they didn't go to the bowl.
Oh, I was sick at halftime.
I would take Brock Purdy over Jared Goff with the game on the line. Easy.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So
shout out to Jared.
Jared played well. He played well. Look, he plays very well in the constructs of the scheme, and he's surrounded. Listen to what I'm telling you, and tell me if this isn't what everybody always says about Brock. He plays very well in the constructs of the offense and what they ask him to do with all of the weapons that they have around him. They run the football very well. And he makes just enough plays for them to win. But if you ask him to do it, when you need him to do it, I don't feel as confident.
Good question here from Daza. Would you rather have Brock Purdy at $60 million or Baker level quarterback, $30 million plus, and an all-pro, I guess an additional all-pro wide receiver defensive end? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the 49ers tried that with Jimmy. You know, Baker level quarterback, $30 million. You know, you keep a bunch of guys around. I don't know. He didn't have an all-pro wide receiver, so maybe we should take that part back. But I think that's kind of your comparison. Like, that's kind of your comparison to, like, yes, you can pay a quarterback $30 million who can give you baseline production. And yes, you can load up your defensive line. Edge is obviously a premium position in the NFL. They're the guys that change games, right? TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, right? Like when you have one of those guys, Max Crosby's really good as well, too. Got to say that. Nick Bosa's very good, right? But when it's winning time, right? And I think what we're doing here with this discussion about 30 or 60 million is checking pockets and not the player. Because if you got Brock Purdy at $30 million, this isn't even a question. Like, not even a question. But what we're doing is we're not evaluating the players one for one. We're evaluating what they're making. And that might be the reason that we have this divide in the discussion right here. Because, yes, Baker can sustain you winning games. But when it's winning time, when you need a play, I think, like, looking at it and saying, well, a $60 million player better make a play, tell that to Dak Prescott then. So it's hard to just evaluate off salary. Evaluate the player and compare the player to themselves, not what they're making. And that's but I understand this conversation because the money that could be used for that can be something else. But if the quarterback isn't the right, like the problem is with the $30 million quarterback, and I'm sorry, Brad, you can go right after this. The problem with the $30 million quarterback is this. That quarterback has to be perfect. Perfect. And what I mean by that is operate the offense, make every single throw, make no mistakes. None. Because if he does, they don't have enough in the quarterback to lift. If he makes a mistake, if he turns the football over once or twice, you're done. And then you say, yeah, we tried to build our team the right way, but you're out. So I understand the conversation, but I really do think that we should just be talking about these players one for one, because I don't think anybody would take Baker Mayfield over Brock Purdy, even though Baker Mayfield's playing some really good football. He really is. And Tampa Bay's got, oh yeah, poor Tampa Bay. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, ho-hum. Like, that's what they're doing right now. But are they going to win? Tampa Bay? No.
I really do think that it's a perception thing, right? Like with Baker, if he doesn't get drafted by the Browns, I think his career looks infinitely different, and the perception around him looks infinitely different. I've always, and it's been an unpopular take, I've always thought Baker was a good quarterback. I just think that going to the Browns and then you add the antics on top of that, it was just a recipe for disaster. But I mean, he took the Browns to the playoffs, right? And they're a disaster. They can't get that right. So I think if you had put Baker in a different type of situation with more structure and a better franchise, I think the perception around him is completely different. But if we're talking about the concept at hand, which is you get Brock Purdy at 60, or you get a Baker level player plus an additional elite player on top of that.
It's a good discussion.
I still think I do think it's a good discussion, but I do think you have to go with where you feel most confident at quarterback. Yes, can you survive with a Baker type at quarterback? Of course you can. You can play great team ball. We've seen 49ers teams anchored by the defense go to NFC championship games because of the defense, go all the way to the Super Bowl because of the defense, almost win the Super Bowl in 2019 because of the defense. So that exists. There's a blueprint for it. But I think because we've seen the blueprint and we've seen it not necessarily get over the mountaintop, and again, not to bring up your PTSD, but when the 49ers needed a throw here or there at the end of that game, it didn't happen. So in that moment, what do you prefer? Do you prefer a quarterback who makes that throw in the end when you need it and wills the team forward? Might have to play a little bit more gritty style of a game where you're not in the lead, or maybe you're coming from behind, but you have a guy who can do that, can get you across the finish line. And I think that's where the conversation happens, where I'm always going to lean towards a quarterback who can get me across the finish line. It might not look as pretty, it might not be as dominating when on all three phases, but I think what we've seen in this league, as long as you have a good enough quarterback and opponent offense, you can have a bottom half defense and still go extremely far. Obviously, there's multiple ways of doing it, but I think with how the game has evolved from, let's say the Harbaugh era, I would say this more aligns with like the Harbaugh era, the 2010s kind of type of style of ball. I think you could absolutely get away with a Baker and, an Olden level type defensive end. Probably might go that route in 2011. In 2024, I'm probably going with the $60 million quarterback who I know can get it across the finish line.
And Daza, thank you for this is a great discussion, because there's different ways to skin a cat when it comes to roster construction, right? Not everybody has Patrick Mahomes and can cover up a lot of warts. And by the way, the Chiefs won their Super Bowl on the back of their defense. But the Sentinels Football Channel, it just really says something it's exactly like driving the point home. You need to look at the keywords Brad and Jason are using: serviceable, survive, above average, elite when it comes to quarterbacks. Is Brock elite now? No. Is he trending that way? Yes. The problem with the $30 million quarterback and all that around him is that he has to play perfect. There's no room for mistakes. There's no room for missing. There's no room for
Playing from behind isn't
no,
an
and
idea.
that's not the goal, right? The problem with the $30 million quarterback and everything else is you have to play perfect at the position. And if the player isn't all the way up to snuff when it comes to those moments, then in the bigger moments, you're going to find that issue holding you back at the end.
Well said. Well said. Roadhog says Bosa had more sacks with Bull Rush, but would burn out by playoffs. Now adds spin, less sacks, but might save energy. What do you think?
I'm not exactly the D-line aficionado. I think a lot of the complaints that people have, and I listen to people who have far more knowledge when it comes to that, and try to pick their brain when it comes to that. But I think there are times where there's just a lack of secondary moves at times for Bosa, and he continues to win that way, right? And it's hard to argue with the results, especially that Defensive Player of the Year, right? But people are understanding that you have one move, right? And the tackle in front of you is preparing to see that move, and there's nothing that's added right to it. So I don't disagree with this wholly. It's just the 49ers have to find a secondary guy. And this is and you know what? This is a perfect segue into something that I want to ask you, because we can go back to the defense here. I've got a little bit of a big brain idea, and maybe you can call it recency bias. Completely fair. Wouldn't argue that. Sammy O's playing very well. Sammy O's playing very well on limited snaps. Sammy O should be a base down lineman, and Leonard Floyd should switch to situational D forward pass rusher. You can get more from him. You can maximize his effort. You can keep him fresh on obvious passing downs or on third down, and you can really start to unlock a little bit more of a turbo package. But this is only possible if Sammy O can continue to play this well with extended snaps, playing on base down, right? Like it's very easy to get excited, and I think we all are with his production, but it's on limited snaps and it's situational. And
Right.
Leonard Floyd did have a good game this week. But Leonard Floyd, I thought, because of who they brought in on the defensive line, and we obviously thought we were going to have Hargrave, would have been a situational guy. I don't have an issue, I think, if this defensive line can be good on base downs and attack the quarterback on passing downs that aren't obvious, to just having Leonard Floyd be like a 20, 25, 30 snap guy, maybe just on these obvious passing downs, and have him go, kind of turn him into something else. That can alleviate so much from Nick Bosa, so he doesn't have to be the constant winner. But again, this week, the blitz packages that they were throwing were giving all one-on-one looks. And the one-on-one looks they won because the Patriots' offensive line is in shambles. But it's just the idea, Brad. I'd love to bounce that off you. And I think, again, the only way that this works is if Sammy O is as consistent as he's been on his limited snaps with an expanded role. That's the only way that this works. It's a little bit of a risk. And, maybe you try it out in certain weeks. And if you find it, maybe down the stretch, that's something you have. But on obvious passing downs, the crux of the defense and the issue with them is on third down. You need to finish on third down. What's hilarious is this. As bad as the 49ers are on third down, they're hilariously good on first and second. It doesn't make sense. Their EPA per play is up top on first and second. It's third down. So what's the fix? Is it a schematical thing? Is it just, guys not making tackles? Or could it be something like a NASCAR package, a turbo package with Leonard Floyd playing the D forward role where he's fresh and he's ready to go? I understand that they have to use him on base downs now because of the depth wearing thin, but it's just an idea. What do you think, Brad?
Honestly, it was my idea when they signed Yetur Gross-Matos and Leonard Floyd. I thought that was going to be kind of the way it worked, and I know YGM was hurt to start the year, so I think
he didn't practice today either. Either.
So he's having a hard time getting acclimated into the rotation and finding that role. But no, I agree with that. I think that would be great to be able to utilize Leonard Floyd's skill set, which I think at this point in his career is rushing the passer. Mm-hmm. So if you can keep him fresh in those situations, again, with a base down edge, you just need edge contain. You need to make sure you're not getting beat to the outside. You're not getting pushed off the line of scrimmage. And if you can make plays in the run game, even better. So, yeah, I'm not opposed to that at all. If Sam O can do it, then let's go. I think they need someone. They need. I would like to keep Leonard Floyd fresh. I think for the whole season, right? They're already so thin. They need to, and that's why that game was so promising. It's because a lot of back end depth guys stood up when I have been questioning the depth all off season, all year, and so it was finally good to see those guys come out and be able to ball. But yeah, I'm not opposed to that idea. And to answer the original question, Bosa had more sacks with Bull Rush, but would burn out by playoffs. Now adds spin, less sacks, but might save energy. I really don't think going from a Bull Rush to spin expands any less or any more energy. I think, in fact, you could probably say Bull Rush saves Bosa energy because it's where he's comfortable. That's home for Bosa. Bosa it's like, an offensive lineman. I would much rather drive through you than have to constantly reach block you all game and get to second level. That's where that gets really tiring over time. So I don't think the Bull Rush burns energy for him. I think it's actually more comfortable for him. I would actually say the spin would be more energy used because you're having to go into a realm that's not your wheelhouse. And also the spin, you're having to set the spin up. You can't just throw it. They'll just punch you in the back the second you turn your back. You have to sell speed. So you have to work your move. You have to work the outside shoulder. You have to attack, and then it's boom, counter inside, throw the elbow, and you spin at the depth of the quarterback, and that's when it works. So I don't think it's an energy thing. I think it's more so he's just trying to add more of a bag of moves, right, than anything else. So yeah, I think he's very comfortable with running straight through your face. I think it's actually the spin that is a deviation from where he feels comfortable that actually might translate to him expending more energy because, again, you're twirling. He's a big guy. He's not he doesn't spend a lot of time twirling. But good question. I still like the question overall.
100%. And I'm glad that I asked you because I never thought of it that way. Again, defensive line is not, my thing, right? Like I can look at a D lineman in a one-on-one rep and say, oh, he won. Stuff like that. He whipped his ass. Yeah, I'm not like Jordan, Jordan Elliott, who's like, oh, he sells the stem and then uses the other.
Right.
That's high level stuff. Me, I can
lined up in the I2, hitting him with the cross chop.
I can look at the film. I can look at the film and say Malik Collins just whipped his ass. Like
right. Hit him with the stab and then countered into a cross.
Right. Yeah, it's so good. It's high level stuff. That's why
I don't know that.
49ers Twitter and YouTube, there's a guy for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So but it's a good question, good thought process.
Very good question. Yeah.
But I think it actually challenges him a little bit more. But nonetheless, any other topics that you want to touch on 49ers related?
No, I just think that
before we get into our fantasy
segment. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys can start sending in the fantasy questions. Let's do it. We're all in hell right now. Oh, my God. The bye weeks have just started. But I want to say this about the Cardinals game is don't be fooled about what just happened with the Washington Commanders. The 49ers are going to have the hell of a time. And this is going to be their first test of can you sit there and can you contain Kyler, make him work from the pocket? How is this going to work? The Cardinals run the shit out of the ball with James Conner as well, too. Ooh, by the way, James Conner against Talanoa Hufanga is a nice little storyline because those guys almost fought at the end of last year's game.
They did.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I fully expect this one to be a dogfight with Arizona. This is not going to be something that's going to be a rollover just because you saw what happened with Washington. I think Cliff Kingsbury got his revenge. Jaden Daniels is operating that offense at its hot. Well, right now, I mean, it's 4 games. I don't want to say with Kyler, but at its highest level through 4 games, obviously you see his completion percentage. But yeah, man, this one's going to be tough. I am not looking forward to watching this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to present a challenge. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to try to take advantage of the 49ers linebacking depth, right? And things of that nature. And obviously, when you have a mobile quarterback like Kyler, it's where the 49ers defense has historically just really
Historically,
struggled in defending, even if the name on the back of the jersey is McCoy. So
or Carson Wentz.
or Carson Wentz. It doesn't matter. Kurt
Sorry,
Warner.
guys. I didn't mean
Kurt
to.
Warner
No, but
might-
I didn't mean to do that because the two games that they faced. Remember, Carson Wentz ran at RPO in 2020 or whatever, and we're just like, what the hell are they doing? And even he's doing it to them. That he's
Yeah.
victimized me.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to be a jerk about that one. I'm sorry.
Hey, it is what it is, man. So yeah, this game against the Cardinals, I'm definitely not treating it like the Patriots game. We saw it last year. They played really well last year under Gannon, and it's like, okay, Gannon, he's
Dobbs.
With Dobbs, he's a good coach, and he's got them playing hard. And I think that is one of the biggest, compliments you can give a coach is that, hey, you might not have all the talent, but if your team is playing above where you think they should be, that's a credit to the coach, in my opinion. So they're gonna be hungry, getting smacked by a rookie. It's a division game. These division games are always a coin flip. As you saw, the 49ers lost to the Rams. So that's all you need to know right there. So yeah, I'm not treating this one like a shoo-in at all. It's gonna be a battle. And they need to win this one. And so I think it's gonna be a mini playoff game for what you can have in the beginning of October. It's gonna mean a lot at the end of the year.
2 divisional games in 7 days. You could possibly finish off both these games and be in first place. Just think about that.
That's huge.
Yeah,
it's huge. And they already, unfortunately, sold the one that they should have had, and so they're already behind the 8 ball. So it even makes more of an emphasis on these 2 upcoming games. So I agree. If you guys have any fantasy questions, start sit questions.
I see the first one. Rodrigo on Facebook. Rodrigo on Facebook wants to give me kudos for telling him to play Jaden Daniels over Patrick Mahomes.
Okay,
I just want to say you're welcome.
There
like I said,
go.
If I give you a take and you come in here and I blow it, come in here and yell at me, man. But I think when you look at this offense, and we're literally just talking about it because I just watched that Arizona tape, they're asking him to get the ball out fast, 6-8 yards, fast, quick, right? Using his legs. I think he's exactly what the Konami code that everybody says for running backs is, just legs and then everything else. When you complete 90% of your passes, 82% of your passes, that's just the icing on the cake, man. But yeah, I think there's no way that if you have both of these guys that you feel like you can start Patrick Mahomes, especially with whatever's going on with Rashee Rice, which we still haven't heard fully what's going on.
He's probably going to be out for the season, right?
We don't know yet, and it's taking too long. So I think there's a little bit of optimism that nobody said anything yet, and it might be a bone bruise. So it may be just a few weeks, not the season. So the fact that they haven't come right out, because they've already done the ACL testing twice, they haven't come out and said that it's torn. Maybe they're playing games. I don't think. Well, Rashee Rice already is declared out for this game, so they're not playing games. But the fact that there's no news has to be taken like it's better news than them just coming out the next day and being like, "Yep, that's his ACL," because that's how it usually goes.
Yeah. So we got to see there. But shout out to Rodrigo for giving credit where credit is due.
Oh yeah, Rodrigo, keep winning those games, man. We're struggling out here. Fantasy football is not fun right now. It's just not fun.
Bro, it's been so bad. It's been an abysmal start for me, but hilariously enough, I had my best week last week across the board. And it's like, man, what the hell, dude? Like, I don't even know. I can't even make sense of it. I was like, how did I win almost every one of my matchups, but I've lost damn near every single one before that? As like, I don't get it. I don't get
it.
Dude,
so like, let's do this while we're waiting for questions to come in. You drafted Tyreek Hill high. You probably drafted Mark Andrews high. They're absolutely unstartable right now. Oh, here's a good one. I love this one. Jason Mishler.
Get this one? Okay.
Yeah. Brian Thomas is low-key cooking. Low-key
cooking. The BT stock, baby.
But Addison comes right back. Addison comes right back with 2 tugs.
He was playing really well.
With 2 tugs. So let's take a look at who they're playing.
Brian
And
Thomas has Indianapolis
mm-hmm,
26th against
mm-hmm.
wide receivers.
Or Jordan Addison, Minnesota
Addison,
against
I don't got
against
him right here.
No, they have a bad matchup actually.
Who are they playing?
This is bad podcasting. Minnesota is playing. I got it because I have Addison too. Addison is facing the Jets. Yeah, you know what, Brian Thomas. I'm staying away from them playing. That Jets defense is figuring it out right now. And they're not giving it up to any wide receivers. Again, if you have Justin Jefferson, he's a must start. But if you're talking about these wide receiver twos right now, with the way that Brian Thomas is ascending right now, and he's at the top of the list of separation, yeah, give me Brian Thomas this week, Jason. And don't get all cocky either. I scored 191 points last week. Yeah, this week would be the week that you end up. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't get too ahead of yourself.
Read the week, yeah. Yo, honestly,
really quickly.
The smart man is the humble man right now in fantasy, because I looked up one week and I was like, oh, I had Devonta Smith, he's out. Oh, I had this guy, he's out. Oh, I had this guy, he's out. And I'm just sitting there like, who the hell do I even have to play anymore? Even if it's like, in a league with just my friends. But yeah, man.
Through 4 weeks, Brian Thomas is literally right on the outside of wide receiver 1 territory. He's wide receiver 14 right now through 4 weeks. Last week, he's been playing around 77 to 75% of the snap share, so he's still getting a lot of run. They've got Christian Kirk, and he was wide receiver 9 last week. 9 targets, 6 receptions, 86 yards, and a tug. And he also added a rushing. He had a carry for 13 yards as well.
And if you watch that game, Trevor Lawrence missed him he's wide open, screaming down the sideline, and he just Trevor Lawrence is going to be a case study for Trevor Lawrence, I think, is the litmus test for what people are you really watching the games, or do you, because obviously we all thought he was going to be QB1. We have to all admit at this point that he's underwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For someone who watched him a lot, I even know who he was coming out of high school. I watched his whole career at Clemson. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this, to be honest. I was expecting him to be a lot better.
I mean, Jacksonville right now is a dumpster fire. When you hear Doug Peterson say, "Yeah, we're doing the play calls or whatever," they gotta. He's like, it's up to the players. What? Yeah. Maybe that's true, but you don't say that out loud. No, my God, you're losing the locker room with that.
Brian Thomas is a stud, and he fits the ability to be the deep ball wide receiver for Trevor Lawrence. Even though,
wait a minute, what am I reading this correctly? Rodrigo, you're gonna trade Mahomes and Chuba Hubbard for Bijan and Scary Terry. The answer is yes, and the answer is do it now.
Is this a redraft or dynasty?
Even if it's not, then it's still a smash.
I mean, if it's a McLaurin,
if it's a dynasty,
if it's a super flex, I would have
maybe. All right. Well, if it's super flex, that's fine. But if he has Jaden Daniels, who he's probably going to be starting every week, Chuba Hubbard, who actually Andy Dalton has revitalized.
Oh, that's right. You admit he has Jaden Daniels. That's his other quarterback.
Yeah, and Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's like a must start now at this point, because they're just running the offense through him. And then Hubbard's playing well, but Jonathan Brooks is on his way back too.
Yeah.
So if this is just a redraft trade, if you can trade a starting running back who's going to have a guy that they drafted that's about to come back from PUP, oh my God, man, smash that, please.
No, I agree. If it's a startup and it's a single quarterback league and you have Jaden Daniels already, and you can get Bijan and Terry McLaurin for Hubbard, who's mid at best, and Mahomes, who's been underwhelming as well,
and it's not going to get better anytime soon.
I agree.
As long as she writes up, yeah,
I agree.
People are going to want Mahomes off of name value. They're thinking that they're buying low. Let them think that.
Yep. DeAndre Swift versus Panthers, or Brian Robinson versus Cleveland. Swift had a bounce back game last week.
Finally. Right? He did. So Austin Eckler's dealing with an injury, but Brian Robinson didn't practice today either.
I just saw that.
Yeah. So what's the format I think if it's PPR, then I lean Swift. If it's standard, then it's Brian Robinson because he probably has a better chance at a touchdown, even though the Browns defense is good. But is what we saw with Swift this week the exception to what we've seen before? Like it's not the rule anymore, you know?
Would you think that game plan would dictate that DeAndre Swift would be used more, or do you think that will be a
Game script?
competitive game?
Yeah, it's gonna be game script shouldn't get out of hand. I don't think the Bears are gonna blow the doors off the Panthers. The Panthers aren't good, but Andy Dalton in that offense, again, they're running it through Deontay Johnson. You know, I just listened to a mic'd up where he's like, "Listen, I'm gonna keep coming to you." Deontay Johnson's like a must start right now. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna start Deontay Johnson over Tyreek Hill this week, and I have no problem with it. I feel fine. Now, is that the way I wanted to draw it up? No, but that's why you have guys that you keep for depth. But I think again in PPR I lean Swift. In this one, if it's not or if it's half PPR, I lean it's half point. Then Brian Robinson. Give me Robinson because he's been so good, and this offense is cooking right now. With Jaden Daniels and the way that they use him. And if Eckler's out, here's the caveat: if Eckler's out, then no doubt it's Brian Robinson, no doubt. But Brian Robinson has to practice, so keep your eye on that.
Yeah, I think you got to watch that for sure. I'm probably leaning Swift right now, but definitely got to watch the practice reports. Let's see. I got Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown too. Oh,
Amon-Ra on bye.
He's just flexing. Right, he's just
Yeah,
flexing.
no, but Amon-Ra on bye. Because so look, we have all the injuries, everything that's going on, and now you don't have Eagles players, you don't have Lions players. There's people on bye now. Think about this, Brad. It's October 2nd. We're in week 5. Fantasy managers might have to pivot to picking up Trey Sermon and starting him in the Lord's year of 2024 for the Colts because Jonathan Taylor might miss and he's going to get all of the volume. Listen to what I just said. Listen to that. That is insane. People listened and it did. They started Cam Akers. He scored you a touchdown. He helped you out that week. But Cam Akers and Trey Sermon, this is where we are right now with the landscape of fantasy football. Trey Sermon is somebody that in my league with my buddies, and I'm going to flex this. This is real good. I don't need him, but I know people are going to go after him. And we do fab budget, right? The $100.
Yep.
He bid $13. I bid $14. That is just good waiver wiring right there. Oh my God. I'm not even going to play him. I might not never use him, but to know that I put the right exact dollar amount that he texted me at 6 a.m. my time. And he said, "You bastard." And I said, that's exactly what we play this game for. It's moments like that.
You play to win the game.
You play to waiver wire and get everybody. Yeah, you got $13 on him. I don't know. I'm going to put 14.
There's always something very, very satisfying about winning your waiver wire fab bid for a player that you really, really wanted to.
But by $1?
Yeah, even better. My favorite is when you actually win because they didn't do something from like a roster perspective. Like,
like they couldn't add him.
You had an invalid roster because they didn't drop someone or they got someone else, which filled the spot. So you actually would have lost out, but they didn't do it right. So you got them. You're like, yeah, that's right.
The worst feeling, and I saw somebody posted, is Dontavian Wicks was a big pickup this week because I forget who's injured.
Christian Watson.
And somebody put $30 on Dontavian Wicks and nobody else bid. Wow. That's gotta hurt. Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously you don't know, but it's just like, damn, I put $30 down on this player. Yeah, I got him. But I could have just put $1. Yeah. I could have got him $1. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
Let's keep going. We got more?
I'm looking. Help me spot if you see any.
I think I see. Let me see. Let me go down. I saw Achane or Connor. James Conner. Right, Miami players are hands off.
You gotta run away from Miami.
I'm kind of hoping that Joe Flacco starts this week for Indianapolis so I can fire up Josh Downs, who had a really good game, but I'm playing Josh Downs over Jalen Waddle.
Dude, I feel bad for Anthony Richardson. I think he has a ton of potential, but I would have to imagine that Flacco's a better quarterback for that team right now.
So that's a little bit of a twisted narrative. So when you watch the game, obviously you see that they beat the Steelers. But Richardson had them going down and scoring, and then he got hurt on a scoring drive that Flacco finished. After that, they went.
He got hit and then
Yeah.
came out,
and then he went back down.
Yeah.
So after that, Flacco went punt, missed field goal, and like punt.
Okay. I didn't see that. All I saw was my fantasy
but at
stats.
the end, but at the end, Flacco did enough, like, because it got back and forth with them and the Steelers. But it's just like the idea that Flacco came in and electrified the offense off the rip. I don't think that's true. They did win the game, but Flacco's a boost to Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, possibly Adonai Mitchell, who is still getting open. It's there. The breakout's about. I swear the breakout's about to happen. Walk with me, please. And even Trey Sermon, if he has to play. Trey Sermon. I can't believe I'm saying this name.
I know, it's been a while.
Yes. Dontavian Wicks. Yes, absolutely. Running all the routes now. No Christian Watson. It's just him and Jaden Reed. It has to be a nice sneaky play as well, too. If you guys are in tight end hell, because tight ends are just screwing us left and right, whether it's just injury or they're just underperforming. Like, look, Kelsey's not doing well. Laporte is not doing well. Andrews is unstartable. Tucker Kraft is somebody that I've been kind of like in deeper leagues. You go there, Kincaid. Tucker Kraft is somebody that you can do.
Mm-hmm. No, I had the Galaxy brain move of like, I'm going to stack Laporta Kincaid.
Yeah. Scott Fishbowl, which is 1.5 per, 2 points per first down, tight ends. Andrews and Laporta. Good job, Jay.
Brutal. Tight ends are destroying fantasy right now.
Gross.
Should Kareem Hunt get a flex start this week?
Correct. Unless you have better options, yes. Carson Steele, he got 3 touches, fumbled the football. They threw the ball to him one more time. That is not his job anymore. They trust Kareem Hunt. He is all the way back.
Yep. We're stashing TJ. I think it depends on your back end roster depth, but I would.
It depends. If you can keep him in IR right now, they opened up his practice window. He hasn't officially been cleared, but yes, keep him in IR. I think you're fine with that. And Sammy D is going to throw him the football.
Connor or Eckler this week? I guess that all depends on Robinson too.
No, Connor.
Even if Robinson's out,
Connor. Connor's too volume driven. That's the guy that I left so many drafts with. Because people were just like, oh, well, he's old. No, they are feeding him the football. Absolutely feeding him the football. Connor's like bordering on like a guy that you can't sit, and I wouldn't sit him for Eckler.
That's fair. Solid logic.
Yes.
I like it. What other ones? Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers is the tight end one right now. God, I don't know who their quarterback is. Kyle Pitts got dropped in my league too.
It's tough for Pitts, man.
It's bad out here.
I don't know
what it is.
The Falcons. I can't even tell you why. I can't even tell you.
I did. I watched their last game. He's running with a piano on his back. His routes have no burst. He has no wiggle. He can't break routes back off. He's like it's literally crazy, man. I just don't understand. I don't get it. Oh, I like this one. Oh, I like this one. Garrett Wilson's not happy right now.
Olave, Garrett Wilson say, yeah, they've been you've been seeing the signs of like there's a disconnect between Rodgers and Wilson right now. Like
they're not having a good time. Denver's defense is very good.
Palpable.
Denver's defense is very good.
I got burned by Zay last week.
Absolutely. Right. I don't know, man. I can't trust these pass catchers. And Derrick Henry's just doing everything right now.
Olave is inconsistent.
With Denver, if you're looking for a streaming defense, I think that's a defense you could pick up for the rest of the year. Denver's defense is clamps, man. They were, and obviously that game was in the rain against the Jets, all that stuff, fine. But Denver's defense is real good. If you have to choose 3, Terry McLaurin's a must start now. That's starting to come along.
I'd probably start Olave. He's definitely picking up steam.
Wilson against Minnesota, man. Minnesota's defense is turning it up. They're doing really good. I just have a hard time. Yeah, I think I have to go. You're gonna go with Zay? I'll have to go with Wilson, man.
Oh, Zay's got to bounce back, man. Come on. Where was
so does Wilson.
What the hell, man? Let's see. Cincinnati's defense. Zay. Who did you say the Jets were playing?
Minnesota.
Jets are playing Minnesota.
Can we just bank on the fact that Aaron Rodgers kind of owns them?
But Is
That
it
was I know that was with the
your
Packers. I'm just going off vibes. Don't let your logic cloud
mama's
vibes.
Minnesota Vikings? I don't think it is. I think we're seeing
Don't
a little bit of
let
difference.
logic cloud your vibes.
You're going Wilson. I'm going Zay.
All right, I'll go Wilson. Rodrigo, I'll go Olave, Wilson, and McLaurin. And I
go
play
with
players
Jason
based.
though.
No.
Go with
Look. Rodrigo, this is what I'll tell anybody.
Jason helped you last week.
No, that's fine. No, don't do that.
Of course.
No, here's what I'll say. If you get advice from somebody, that shouldn't be your end all be all. It should be a part of your process. If someone gives you advice and it makes you feel, right? Yeah, if it makes you feel a little bit better, you're still the one that's in control at the end of the day. So you make whatever you feel. But these are just our opinions, and don't allow us to just be like the end all be all, because that can cloud your process.
I had to come up with a system because I would tinker my lineup to death.
Yep.
So that I set my lineup right after the Monday Night Football game and I don't touch it because it's based on what I most recently saw and, everything. And I'm like, unless there's an injury, that's my lineup and I'm not going to tinker because I can't count how many times, Jason, I've switched someone out last minute thinking matchup wise or overthinking it, and it's lost me the game. And I'm just like, I can't. So I have to tinker proof myself because boy, I get to tinkering.
I hear
Too much of a tinker. JJ or BA?
This is Juwan Jennings or Brandon Ayuk. I think he's saying.
I'm assuming it's Juwan Jennings because
you're obviously going to start Justin Jefferson. You drafted him to start him every single game.
I'm going BA.
Oh baby!
I'm finally expecting the BA breakout. I think he's
against Arizona.
Yeah, I think he's made it through. I think through 4 weeks, I noticed a difference. Even though he didn't produce and he didn't get targeted a bunch, I saw the difference, and I think that's going to carry over. And I think they're finally going to target him because they're going to put more of an emphasis on JJ. JJ's balling right now, but I think they're going to put more of an emphasis on him. Debo's going to Debo. I think I'm personally going BA. I think this will be hopefully the BA breakout game.
So Alberto, I completely understand this because I've seen people having this discussion too, where like I can't do this anymore. But I think when we talked about this game preview with the Patriots, it was going to be interesting because Christian Gonzalez is really good, and the breakout was going to have to be off one more week. Alberto, I'm gonna say with my whole chest, Brandon Ayuk this week. Brandon Ayuk is definitely going to finally get out to, this is it. This is the one right here. Jennings will do enough for you where you'll say, like, maybe early on in the game, you'll be like, man, he's got like 3 catches. I think this is going to be a very Brandon Ayuk. Alexa, I'm cooking, man. Stop. I think this is going to be a very Brandon Ayuk-centric throwing the football game plan from Brock Purdy. Not that they're just going to come out here and sling it. But who they are going to sling it to is Brandon Ayuk because they are dying to get him involved. And what a better week than this week against Arizona, especially after what Washington just did to them through the air.
Yeah, I'm going BA. Smash BA. It's time. It is time. Week 5 just sounds good. Yeah, we got Godwin and Evans this week, or Evans and Drake London.
So
I personally would go Evans and London just to kind of break it up because I think Evans is going to get the production right predominantly, and you hope you get that touchdown out of London.
What I get scared about is that both options are in the Thursday game. And Thursday games are so annoying. I hate when I have players that play on Thursday. I hate it. Godwin and Evans, London and Evans. You kind of hope for a little bit of a back and forth game. I don't really think there's a bad option, but the problem is this, and I think this is where I'm going to lean with Brad. I don't have a problem starting Godwin and Evans this week. But isn't there a little bit of like robbing Peter to pay Paul with both of them? But you obviously have them on your team, so it's worked in certain weeks. Evans came into this game a little banged up throughout the week. I think I want to diversify my bonds, man. Evans in London, man. Yeah, that's it, man. I want to spread it around a little bit.
Yeah,
I want to spread it. I want to spread it around a little. I don't want to put everything on Tampa Bay because if that offense goes in the shitter, then it's everybody. So at least in this case, it will only be one.
I like that. Jay Small says someone offering me DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson for AJ Brown. Is he finessing me?
Yeah, that's not your friend, man. In fact, tell him to pull up so you got the
That's
scratch.
not your friend.
It's not your friend.
Man.
It's not your friend.
That's getting taken advantage of. I would
Yeah,
say.
it's just like
right?
stop insulting my intelligence.
Because
DJ
the
Moore
only
is
problem
good.
with AJ Brown is he's just been hurt.
He's hurt. AJ, look, DJ Moore's fine too. You know, look who you talking to. The DJ Moore like stand.
DJ Moore looks pissed off.
He does, and that offense is still a little bit disjointed. And you would be trading a guy on a bye, so you get two players. But Garrett Wilson's already complaining to the media. DJ Moore, it feels like every week, and I think Keenan Allen is starting to get more in rhythm now.
And they just don't look like they send.
They don't have it all
DJ,
together.
They just don't send DJ. I saw this this passing chart of DJ Moore without Shane Waldron and DJ Moore with Shane Waldron.
It's so bad.
It's insane. They barely put him out on routes.
Warren Sharp was the one who said that, and they were like, "Oh, you know, that's kind of what you were seeing last year with Jackson Smith and Jiba."
Yeah, and he commented
it's the same thing. Yeah, he's like it's the same thing. Yeah, that Shane Waldron offense. That Shane Waldron offense is not doing Caleb any favors right now, man. So yeah, I wouldn't let him do that. Don't let him do that, and also let him know, come see me because we gonna have words and make some furniture shake for you, thinking that you can get that one off from me.
All right, let's do a couple quick hitters.
Yeah, so we get out of here.
Get out of here. Let's see, Jennings or Pittman.
If Flacco starts, Pittman.
I'm going Pittman as well.
If Flacco starts,
we've got Addison, Flowers, or Shaheed as wide receiver 2.
Flowers, they just haven't connected. Shaheed is so hit or miss. Like that's boom or bust.
Boom or bust.
I just said that I don't really like Addison in this matchup, but if they're gonna start giving him the ball like on these, you know how he scored a rushing touchdown. I think you follow the guy who's got the leading MVP candidate throwing footballs to him, Sam Darnold.
I'm probably going Addison based on
that. I think just on safe, just on floor. Yeah.
Also do Olave. Okay, I can also do Olave McLaurin, and I can get RB on flex, which 3 RBs. I got Mason, Connor, Mixon, and Bijan.
Jesus. What league are you in? And can I join next year, Rodrigo? Send me an invite next year. And is it paid? No, I mean, you're just a good drafter.
Well, he just traded for Bijan, right?
Also, if you just got Bijan, then you gotta play Bijan then.
Gotta go Bijan, and I'm probably going Mason.
I would go Bijan, Mason, and then Connor. Mixon is probably not gonna play. Him and Damian Pierce didn't practice today, so you're gonna get Cam Akers again.
You literally have Jordan Mason with a stranglehold on snap share, and no one else is taking snaps away from him in a Kyle Shanahan led offense. Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go JP.
I think you go Bijan though in this one. I think they're utilizing him more and they're moving up that way.
I would go Bijan JP, especially if you just got him off a trade. Hell yeah. Play with that.
I don't think it's crazy. Strawberry, I don't think it's crazy that you're considering Jennings. I just said if Flacco is the quarterback, because he got Pittman involved a lot.
And Pittman is their number one, where Jennings is
not. Him and Richardson aren't linking. They're just not linking right now. But if Flacco's there, then I trust that. I trust that way more.
Yeah, I do trust Pittman with Flacco. Their skill set aligns a little bit better.
See Higgins or Javonte? Higgins. You can't play Javonte Williams. Is someone help my Prince? He can't.
He's the injury, man.
Yeah, you can't play him. You cannot play him, man.
Geno Smith or Allen?
Josh Allen?
Well, I'm going Joshy if that's
Josh Allen's a must start every week, Alberto. Yeah. Geno's there for that one bye week.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Joshy. Yeah. All right. Those are good questions.
Oh, well. Oh, yeah, she's right. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Juwan Jennings would have never been on our fantasy radar, like, at all. Unless you're, like, in a super, like, deep 14, 16-team league that you've got somebody.
He had 230 some odd passing reception yards for the entire season. He broke that.
Right. Like, week. It would have to be like you're like in a bad spot. Like, I'm telling you this in this one dynasty league where it's like we start like 20 players. I literally had to play Kyle Juszczyk one week, just hoping that he caught a pass or something like that, or did something. Like, that's kind of where you are, like in those deeper leagues. So yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Let's go to the next question. 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 All Great questions, everyone.
Shout out to everybody. What a good show, man.
I like the new
Information and
fantasy
us
segment.
vibing.
Good stuff, man. We got Aponte dropping advanced analytics on us. Got my brain spinning, but hey, it paints the perfect picture.
Purdy or Sam?
Ooh.
Let's do it.
Who are they playing against? Minnesota.
They are playing the Jets. Let's do it. Sam Darnold revenge game, which you cannot deny the vibes.
Oh, that's a good point. Are they at New York?
It's in London. It's a 6:30 game for y'all. I don't like London games either. I don't like Thursday games. I don't like London games. I don't like Germany games.
That turned me out. I'm going Purdy.
Brock.
I don't like London games. Those are,
if Sam Darnold,
weird. They're weird.
If Sam Darnold goes across the pond and gets revenge on the Jets,
he's real. Nuts, it's real.
I'm gonna start to be like, oh shit, man. It's not a mirage.
It's not a mirage. He's finally realizing all that potential. Again, honestly, with Sam, it was never talent.
No.
Never once.
Nope.
It wasn't like that in college either. He's always had the talent. It's the same thing that we talked about with Brock. Maybe playing with Brock, it rubbed off on him a little bit. Maybe
it's Kyle
from the young kid.
It's funny. Kyle's a quarterback killer, yet Matt Schaub had his best time as a career with him. Matt Ryan did. Jimmy Garoppolo did. Brock Purdy is. And maybe that rubbed off on Sam a little bit. I despise the quarterback killer narrative about Kyle. When I just named all the guys who literally had their best statistical seasons in the league.
He can't be a quarterback killer when every quarterback wants to play.
Has been good. Everyone has been good. And when they go somewhere else to do something else, what happens?
I think about it all the time. Steve Young is like, man, what I would do to play in Kyle's scheme.
With Kyle's offense. He's a quarterback killer, Brian.
All right, y'all. Good show. Appreciate everyone for tapping in. That was a good one. As always, State of the Franchise, Jason Ponte. I'm Brad. Make sure you like, subscribe to both channels. We're out of here. We'll be back next week. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.